Happy Monday, Manchester United fans, and it does feel like a bit of a happy Monday, doesn't it? Pardon the pun, and the Manchester band, happy Mondays and all of that jazz. But United head into the international break off the back of their best form under Ruben so far, feeling a little bit more upbeat, but more importantly, a look ahead to what is actually coming up for United. Yes, tough fixtures after the international break, but Manchester United's injury situation is definitely looking a lot more positive. We had the news from Ruben we're going to get into in a moment, and the importance of players like Luke Shaw, whether you think it is or not, and you can take it as a positive or not, pinch of salt. He's actually returning. He's not really featured much, I get it, but we're going to talk about the importance of that and how many Manchester United players, I make it 5 first team players, all coming back after the international break to bolster the ranks even of Ruben Amorim's Manchester United squad. I'm going to go through them players, what impact they could have, them games that they could feature in. Manchester United looking at what right now, 9 league games left this season, possibly another 5 in the Europa League if we get to the final. Can we manage it? Can we get through it? The importance of these players all coming back is massive. I also want to talk about Manchester United and their secret meeting with a certain agent of certain players that could impact Manchester United's summer as well. Want to get into that. Obviously, all of your thoughts around the game yesterday against Leicester, the positives that you've seen, certain things that we picked up on within the game. It was a good afternoon. It was a good day and a good weekend for Manchester United, and nice to go into a break off the back of such a good weekend. I would say Liverpool lost, City drew, United won. Everything just seemed to go right this weekend. They've been few and far between, let's be honest. I have got a poll up right now gauging your mood as you are right now. Some people still sceptical, some people still not convinced, quite rightly so. Let's be honest, Leicester are really bad and they will be relegated. I think relegation was confirmed this weekend with the results and the teams that are down there in the bottom 3. United move up a couple of places. Can we reach top 10? That's another question I want to ask. With the games that we've got coming up, is it too much of an ask? But it just feels a lot more upbeat. But to start with, the important thing is them injuries and everything that's gone on at Manchester United. It just looks like everything's being timed poorly. Everything happens at the wrong time for the club. But no matter which way you look at the current situation right now, going into the international break, even with the bad news about Heaven going off yesterday, more on him in a minute as well, Manchester United still do have a lot more positives than negatives right now with the players that we have got coming back. Ruben Amorim saying yesterday that Luke Shaw coming back and will be back very soon is a massive positive for United. Whether you think he's going to feature or not, it still is. Just to have that experienced player in and around the changing room and the dressing room in match days again going forward, I don't think Luke Shaw is the future of this football club. But again, I'm looking at the positives that are flying around right now and Luke Shaw actually being back in the fold and in this stage of the season. And this is the important bit about this. And I'm only saying this because I think Luke Shaw should be used sparingly, even if he does make it back. And I want to say a big if, because I'm not convinced myself. I'm going to be honest. But look what happened in the Euros with England and where they got to and what happened when Luke Shaw came back into that side. There's a reason why Southgate had him hanging around there and still hoping that he could get him on the pitch. If we get it right and we do use Luke Shaw in certain games, and I'm thinking these European games, I'm thinking the experience factor in this team. He's been there, he's done it, he's played in all the big tournaments and he's featured for years in these tournaments. Yes, injuries have blighted his career, we know that, but still, when you look at Luke Shaw and the experience that he's got, it's vital to a very, very young Manchester United side. Because what we were looking at yesterday we thought was the end of the season for Aidan Heaven. Then, like you see at the bottom of your screen there, all of the tweets went out from the journalists last night after the game at the King Power of Aidan Heaven walking out unaided on his own, yes, in a protective boot, but still walking. Ruben Amorim's comments on Aidan Heaven were he's feeling a little bit more upbeat right now. It was a scary moment for him because he's not had an injury before, and that was why we got the reaction that we got. So obviously, if you've never been injured and something happens, like a sprain or something like that, you automatically think worst case scenario, don't you? And it sounds soft of me to say it. It sounds stupid of me to say it. I mean, to react that way and overreact that way, and some people would say like Kevin did. He didn't. He was just scared at that moment. He broke into the Manchester United side. He'd had a great performance, and he thought something serious had happened. And like Ruben said, he played it down a little bit. We're going to have to assess it. He's never had an injury before, so he can't tell us what's happened. He doesn't know. He doesn't know his body yet because his body hasn't been through that. He's 18. And this is the difference right now. So where it looked bad at first, it might not actually be that bad. But again, like that, you've got young defenders there. You've got Lenny Yoro, who is coming back into Manchester United's side over the next couple of weeks as well on international break. 19. Aidan Heaven will come back in by the looks of it this season as well, hopefully. 18. Young players, Dargu, 20. Obviously, with Luke Shaw coming back in and just being in and amongst this in any capacity whatsoever is going to help these players in the latter stages of this season, because like we just said there, it's crunch time for Manchester United. The next 5 games alone: Nottingham Forest, Manchester City, Lyon, Newcastle, Lyon. They're the next 5 games for Manchester United. Absolute humdingers. Really, really tough games. Monday night to start it off against Nottingham Forest. That's one on its own. We're going to have to wait a long time for United to actually play again. We've got the extra 2 days. We've not playing on the Saturday and Sunday as well after the international break. So more time for these players to get recovery. Like Ruben Amorim said, some players will go away. Some players will stay. Like, for instance, the injured players. Maguire, Mount, Shaw, Yoro, Heaven. Players like this that need to recover and need a little bit more on their fitness side of things. We've now got more than 2 weeks to work with them players and not worry about anything else going on, but getting them absolutely bang on and ready to go for when we kickstart again. And we will have some serious options in that squad when we play Nottingham Forest on that game back. And it's really exciting to look at. And I'll keep on playing down the Luke Shaw news and him coming back. We've even played it down a little bit in the title and in the thumbnail. Like, again, yes, back again. How many more false dawns are there going to be with Luke Shaw? Is he actually going to be back this time? Can we get some game time out of him? Look, if we are managing to bring Luke Shaw on off the bench to see games out and use his experience, and that's all we get from him, that is absolutely crucial. Ruben Amorim made a really good quote regarding Mason Mount and what he knows he's got in that player there. 5 minutes of Mason Mount would be perfect. I think 10 and 15 minutes seeing out games with Luke Shaw would be perfect for Manchester United. To have that player coming on, I don't think he's a starter. We're never going to get 90 minutes out of Luke Shaw ever again. That's just my opinion. I'm not overhyping it. I'm just saying, if he is back, and they have done it right this time, and he is going to be available, he never starts. He doesn't start a game. It's pointless even thinking about bringing him in and starting him in any Manchester United game coming up now through April and May. He needs to be on the bench and he needs to be utilised for them little cameos. That's all he's got left in him. And we know this. Let's be honest. We would like to see a Luke Shaw fully fit playing 90 minutes again. But come on. Who in this Manchester United fan base, or in fact anyone in football, feels like Luke Shaw is ever going to play 90 minutes again? But even he would probably understand that he hasn't got that in him. But he can contribute this season. I've said it before. When Luke Shaw went back with that injury, and then he had that... He came back into the Manchester United squad. He came back into training. And then he had the setback again. And I thought that was it. It's done. It's done. And I still think it's done. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I think Luke Shaw is finished. I do. And by that I mean ever starting football matches again, because he's just not going to happen for him. But we can use him. And do you know what? Even if he's in and around the matchday squad and he's not used, he's in that changing room. He's in there at half-time. He's talking to these players. He's got the experience. He can help the younger lads out. And that, I think, is vital from just this stage of the season. Then in the summer, you make the decision. And Luke Shaw probably moves on if you can. I doubt it because I don't think anyone will buy him. But right now, United just have to utilise what they've got in Luke Shaw. And I think that's what he has got. He's got that little bit of time in and around the players on match days. Maybe he'll come on for 10 or 15 minutes. But it's still a massive plus point for Manchester United. When you look at that, when you look at Lenny Yoro coming back, when you look at Harry Maguire also coming back, Patrick Dorgu coming back from suspension as well. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 in them players alone just there. And the 5th is Aidan Heaven, will be back also at some point this season by the looks of everything so far. It is looking positive. We talked the other day about Ahmad coming back as well into Manchester United's side. Like these days now, and we said yesterday, and I spoke with Jay on the breakdown yesterday and the reaction to the game after the Leicester win. And it's like, is the international break now a hindrance for Manchester United? We've picked up form. Everything looks great. And all of a sudden, bang, you've got this big two-week plus break. And everything just goes back to where it was again. You're fearing that that's what might happen anyway. But still, I think it's actually a good thing, the international break this time, because it gives us a chance to reset, go into this break and nurse these players that definitely need help with recovery, fitness and getting over their injuries. And like I just said there, you can name 5 massive players for Manchester United. When you're talking the experience of Maguire and Shaw, Mason Mount getting his time as well, so you could say there's 3. And you could start talking about Aiden Heaven coming back, hopefully. You've got Lenny Yoro coming back as well, that's 5. It's actually 6 when you think about it, because Patrick Dorgo is also back from suspension. And this is where you're looking at a completely different squad. Where you're looking at the bench yesterday, you're going, there's not many options there. There's not much that Manchester United can really look to change the game. But still, like bringing on the likes of Amas and Collier yesterday. Amas, in fact, coming on that left-hand side, pushed Dalot out to the right-hand side again, where he is 20 times better. And he had his best performance in the United shirt again in the spells in that second half. He actually was confident. He was... He was attacking minded. It just works. Like playing someone on the natural side, I think, is the only way that you're going to see the best of them. Thank you for being versatile, but players coming back like Dog, who push Dalot back out to the right, that makes Dalot play better. That gives you the confidence on the left-hand side. That also bringing back the likes of Lenny Yoro to play alongside the likes of Dorgu in replacement of Aiden Heaven right now. And then the experience of Maguire and Shaw, like I said, on top of that, Mason Mount coming back up front, maybe Ahmad later down in a few more weeks' time, and you're looking at a completely different outfit. And you've got a mix of that young up-and-coming talent that's coming through and is really giving confidence to the fan base and to Ruben Amorim, I think, in the likes of Dorgu and Heaven and maybe Chido coming on here and there. And you've got Mount, you've got Maguire, you've got Shaw, you've got the experienced players coming back for some crucial games. Because I think we can compete with all of these teams that we've got coming up. I don't think that we're going to win every game. No, I don't. I think we're going to lose quite a few of them. But at least we will be competing in these games and we will have a chance in them with this squad that we've got right now. And it may seem like I'm just spinning out the big positive again and everything, but you only have to look at them players that are coming back and feel a little bit more upbeat that we can actually start to compete again in the league. And these games coming up might actually suit United. Not going into them as favourites, nobody expecting much from us. We may be able to build even more confidence. And these games, the Newcastle, Forest and Manchester City, in between the Lyon games, is just going to have these players fully switched on completely. Every single games. And in a way, you could say you would rather have a lesser team in the Premier League in these games in between the Lyon ones. But the reality really is, with these games and all of them teams playing for something, United are going to have to perform. And trust me on this one, I would rather be playing really important games from now until the end of the season than dead rubbers. I really would, because this team switches off. And we've seen what happens in the big games. We've seen what happens when we play the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City, some of our best performances this season. And I think that, and that fully switched on mode that United have had in them games, will be there again in these Premier League games coming up. Therefore, giving us that opportunity to really go out there and attack Lyon and be ready for them. It's 5 fixtures that will absolutely define the season and end or progress Manchester United's season. They're massive games for Manchester United because every single team that we're playing in them next 5 are all fighting for something. And that's the difference. When you're coming up against the likes of no disrespect, the Crystal Palaces, the Evertons, you're coming up against the Leicesters, Ipswiches, Southamptons like we have been doing. They know their fate. They know where they are. And Manchester United, I feel, play better in the bigger games. And just to have them players coming back, I think is absolutely huge for Manchester United. And that is what I'm clinging on to right now as the biggest positive to come from this. And we can laugh off the Luke Shaw coming back, and everybody will do. I know, I get it. But still, I have to look at that and say, it can only help what's happening right now. And Ruben, with this turnaround, 7 games unbeaten, winning the last 2, scoring 7 goals. I know it's crap opposition, but still, Manchester United in their last 4 league games, and the Everton, Ipswich, Arsenal, Leicester, yes, averaging over 2 goals a game. We're starting to score. Rasmus scored yesterday. Garnacho scored yesterday. Bruno is playing the best that we've seen him play in the United shirt right now. The defence is solid. There's an understanding there. They're even making Andre Onana look better. Even with his illness yesterday and the conjunctivitis, he was solid enough yesterday. And we're seeing 6s and 7s out of 10 performances consistently more. And we don't need 8s and 9s individually for certain players to win games. We just need a consistent 6s and 7s out of 10s for everybody, then a couple of 8s here and there. United will win games. And I feel like the team has come together. There is a connection, there is a camaraderie that I've always said wasn't there this season. And I said it yesterday, is the most upbeat I've been as a United fan all season. And I can see it and I can feel it in the way that Ruben Amorim talks right now. And him talking about Mount, him talking about Shaw, him playing down the Aiden Heaven part, talking about Ahmad coming back this season. He can see things materialising, and he's obviously seeing Manchester United in these next few games now, as tough as they are, actually having a chance. And he believes in his team, I think, now. He's starting to see different parts of his game, his management, where he's adapted to certain players. He's utilising Casemiro and Eriksen. Yes, Eriksen, really poor yesterday. He's having to utilise them players and mix that in with the likes of Toby Collier, Bruno Fernandes, Manuel Ugarte. He's managing to not need Manuel Ugarte right now that much in his team, which is saying something. For a player that we chased all summer and has performed the way he's performed this season, Manuel Ugarte being used sparingly right now, you could look at that as a positive. It is. Because we are rotating the squad and everybody's coming on and doing a job. I look at Casemiro now, he looks upbeat all of a sudden. He looks like he's got something in him now. And this is where I think the difference is and why I feel so confident going into these tough games, but still feeling like we have actually got something in these games for us. And I do believe we can come out on the other side of it. I think we can beat Lyon. I think we can get a decent amount of points out of them 3 games as well. Yes, we don't have a good record at Newcastle. Manchester City is give or take, I don't know. Newcastle away, I just said it then. Forest, we've got an absolutely outstanding record at the City Ground, and we should have beat them at Old Trafford this season as well, but for Onana nightmares. But I do actually feel like we can beat Nottingham Forest. And I think if we do, then back-to-back wins in the Premier League for the first time this season, and going into them big games, wow. Seriously, this is absolutely brilliant for Manchester United. It's all worked out well for the time of season. Look, I've gone on a massive positive mini rant there. Get your comments in, everybody. Go easy on me on bigging up the Luke Shaw thing as well. I know, I get it. You got Rawls with a super chat. Thank you, my man. Says, at what point do you just cut bait on Shaw and buy his contract out? I realise the player they bring in won't be as skilled, but they also won't be hurt 95% of the time. I reckon in the summer, mate. Get through this season, and then I think the decision needs to be made in the summer. Can we just release Luke Shaw? Can we cut off that contract and bring someone else in on a cheaper contract? And I'm going to talk about that actually in a moment at the back end of the show as well, because we have got other news to get through as well. But I want to give you your chance to have your comments in. We've got 1,300 in the room with us. Thank you, everybody. Pile your comments in. If you want to get in the live chat, make sure you've hit that subscribe button so you can get into the live chat as well. Who's happy about the international break? Markesh says, Heaven had his ankle dragged along under the Leicester player's slide. Most likely a fracture, hopefully not a break. Probably a 4 to 5 month layoff. Nah, I don't think so, mate. I don't think it'll be that much. But I'm thinking positive. We can see what happens. He's feeling a lot more upbeat, Ruben Amorim said. But like I said before, the injuries give us the chance to actually look at the Heaven situation, and the injuries that are returning, the players that are coming back, you're not worried about it as much anymore. You've got a beast of a man in De Ligt in there who is leading everybody. You've got Yoro to come back. You've got Mazraoui to step back into the back 3 now as well. Now we've got Dorgu back at the wing-back situation. Obviously, we'll have cover there with Hamas. Now he's started to play, which is really interesting. It's just that extra cover on the right-hand side, but I think we've got more than enough of that. I do. And then later on, down into the season, maybe even Ahmad coming back could play at that right wing-back role again for a time being, just while we get through into the summer. You could see Kamas and Armantato make an appearance at some point on that right-hand side as well from the academy. I'm not overly concerned about the injuries anymore, and that's the difference. And the feel around the injuries at Manchester United is completely different. It's not what it was. Please give the video a like as well, everybody. Get into the chat. Let's go. I just noticed I am a member again. Whoever gave me that, thank you. Corinthians. It would have been gifted by someone probably last night, but welcome along again. Andrew says, Luke Shaw manages to get some games in so we can hopefully finally get rid in the close season. I think a lot of people are on that one. Injuries is not the only reason that Euros thing still pisses United. Every United fan. The Euros. You mean right? Yes, what Luke Shaw did in the Euros got you, Rudresh. Yeah, that did. That I was fuming with that, by the way. Leicester did leave some heavy challenges on us last night. They did, Kyle. We battled through. That's the only way that they were going to beat us. And they stood up last night, Man United, and were counted. And we pretty much had that game wrapped up. We were in complete control. There was never really any fear or danger. The odd moment where we're getting ditch tackles in from Heaven and De Ligt, but stupid little lucky breaks that they were getting to get that as well. You could say it was a foul on Lindelof in Jamie Vardy down that wing, but let's be honest, Lindelof is not going to play every game. That's not going to happen to any of our other centre-backs at all. He's just one of them players, again, that's coming in and filling in, and why I'm more confident now going forward, because we're not going to have to play Lindelof. I think he showed yesterday where his weaknesses are. But look, he contributed to another clean sheet, and he's filled a gap in the Arsenal game, in the Leicester game, while other players like Yoro and Maguire have been out missing, and that's what you've got to look at as a positive. He stepped in when needed. He's done a job. And now these other players will be back by the time the international break finishes. And that is why it's different right now. That's why Ruben Amorim, I feel, will be looking at this more confidently. And that Aiden Heaven injury, as bad as it is and as upsetting as it is, isn't as much of an issue for us anymore. I was gutted, though, last night because I think he would have been holding his place in the team. That's the question I want to ask the chat, actually. If Aiden Heaven wasn't injured, do you feel like with all the other players coming back, he would have still played? Would he have been ahead of Yoro and Maguire? It would have been really interesting to see if he'd have stayed in the team because he's playing well. As much as Shaw has annoyed me, it would be good to have him back as the left centre-back if there is no Heaven and Martinez need balance on that side. I think Yoro can play there as well, mate. I really do think that that is a position that he is comfortable in. Apparently, HW walked out. Yes, Heaven walked out of the stadium with support boots, so hopefully it's not as bad as first thought. No, I don't think it is as bad as first thought, but we will wait throughout this couple of weeks off now and see. I'm sure by the end of the week we will know exactly what condition Aiden Heaven is in anyway. Jonatech says Shaw's leg break means he will never be able to keep fitness. Soft tissue injuries are going to cut his career short. Again, end of the season, utilise him for what he is, which is a bit part player. That's all Luke Shaw is. And accept that and we'll be fine. That's how I see it anyway. Hi Adam. Luke Shaw should just retire. A shame, but his body is broken. Aiden Heaven is the lad. He's going to be a top-class performer. You just see it and can't you... you can just see it, can't you? Sorry. A huge finish to the season now. It is a massive finish to the season for United. And I'm going to stand by what I just said as well. These games coming up, as hard as they look on paper, I do believe will benefit United having this type of fixture more. To be switched on for 5 weeks straight now, near enough, with all of these tough games coming up, I think it works for United. It does. I remember going back to when Ten Hag was in charge and we had all of the big games coming up. We had Barcelona back to back. We had the final. We had league games in between. We beat Barcelona, we beat Newcastle. I think we beat Leicester again, funnily enough, in between in them games. It's reminded me of that time of the season again, where United just, because the games were so big, there was no chance of any player switching off, and everybody wanted to be involved in the big games. I know, lo and behold, all of a sudden, it looks like we got near enough a fully fit squad back again. And that is the difference as well. Players wanting to be part of something, wanting to be part of Ruben Amorim and what's going on right now. There will be so many conversations going on behind the scenes, like a get together. Come on, lads, let's go for this. Let's hit this rest of this season head on right now. That's what's going to be going on around that Old Trafford changing room and in and around Carrington right now. And everybody wants to be part of it. It does feel like the group and the atmosphere and everything around the squad right now seems to be a lot more together. And like I said before, the little things that we've noticed with Casemiro and Eriksen being involved, some of the youth players getting their first minutes now under Ruben Amorim as well, it's massive for us. And I think we're seeing the best of Ruben Amorim after a really difficult start in handling how he is going to manage. So in terms of him planning how he's going to manage the rest of this season, I think it's setting up nicely, to be honest. Forest and the Toon will be tough. City, I think, are as slow as us, so we'll be all right. I'm actually confident in the City game, weirdly enough. And to be able to ruin their season even more, yeah. I think the other teams chasing top 4 right now will be looking at United coming up against City soon and thinking there's a chance there again. I can't remember the last time we actually did the double over Manchester City, but it would be nice in the midst of a dreadful season to pick up moments like this. Can you imagine picking up maybe 5 or 6 points from the Forest, Newcastle and City game and beating Lyon and going through to the semi-final? Then you're talking season on, and here we go. Let's move forward. I think that is absolutely crucial for Manchester United in seeing out the rest of this season. Having something to play for is more important, I feel, right now than anything else. And I think that is what Manchester United need to be looking at and concentrating on. It's the fact that we're actually in and amongst some big games coming up, and we are going to have an impact, not just on our season, but other teams' seasons as well. But we have to look at ourselves and go, right, okay, we need to be ready and 100% finely tuned for these Lyon games. It's not going to be an easy game. And I love the fact, in a way now, just looking at it, that we haven't got shit games in between. We've got tough games. And I think this brings out the best in Manchester United. I think it does in any team, to be honest. But if I'm a United fan, right, if I'm a United player right now and I'm looking at this international break and coming back from it, you've got them 5 games in a row, you're like, bang, this is what I'm here for. This is what I'm at Man United for. That's how I'm thinking anyway. And I think there'll be a lot more of that as well. There'll be a lot more of that. One story that I wanted to talk about that is going around at the moment, it's gone under the radar, and this is a really interesting one for all Manchester United fans and the recruitment possibly for the summer. Manchester United have met with Spanish agent Javier Garrido in England this week. Why is this important? Well, it's important simply because right now Manchester United are looking to recruit a certain type of player. And I'm looking at the players that this agent actually represents. And when you look at them, you're thinking, right, okay, this is definitely something that Manchester United are looking at for the summer. So you dig deep into it. We know if we're not in Europe, even if we're not in the Champions League or anything like that going into next season, it's going to be difficult in the transfer window for Manchester United. We're going to find it hard to bring in the players that we need. And when you look at Manchester United's current squad, what's going to be leaving, and then the type of player that we know we're probably going to be looking at and going for instance, Javier Garrido, the agent, he is the agent for Lee Kang-in, who is the versatile forward who we've seen play for PSG this season. Obviously, he's slipping in and out of an absolutely exceptional PSG side. Now, he's contracted into 2028, and the only reason I'm mentioning Kang-in is because Manchester United were linked with him again in the summer. Now, I don't think this is a deal that Manchester United are going to do and get. I think his market value is approximately 30 million euros. I don't think Manchester United will make this deal happen. But interestingly enough, this agent is representing Kang-in. And when you look at his stats, when you look at where he plays, he actually does fit the mould of a Ruben Amorim player. The work rate up front, plays left wing, plays right wing, plays holding midfield, plays centre midfield, plays anchor, plays every single forward position and a couple of defensive ones when needed. And I think we are looking at very versatile players right now. The fact that you're looking at maybe the likes of Roger Fernandez from Braga at right wing back, who can also play on the left. Patrick Dorg, who plays left, also plays right. We're now seeing the likes of Garnacho interchange and go into that right-hand sided 10 rather than the left-hand sided 10. He can play both. Versatility, I think, is a big thing for Ruben Amorim in rotation within his squad and how his system works and how he keeps his squad fresh. So, Lee Kang-in from PSG, I think, is a player that Manchester United will probably looking at. When you look at it, what's he got this season? He's got 11 goal involvements this season for PSG. Not their star player. Isn't going to be a first-team player, but that's where Manchester United are at. And there's the agents, Javier Garrido, representing this player, and some more for the likes of Abidi Ezazuli from Real Betis, another player that is under the radar. These are the types of players that I feel we are going to be all over in the summer. And the most important one, and the one player that he does represent, which is what clicked on for me, and why I've done this video on this, is because he represents Xavi Guerrero at Valencia. Now, you'll remember 2 seasons back, Manchester United were chasing Guerrero, whose contract was quite substantial at the time. He was a holding midfielder. He plays at Valencia right now. He's now only 21 still. Holding midfielder. And you know what we're thinking here? This is like another one of them players, a younger player. Obviously at a club and at a team that isn't competing at the top level. He's at the age bracket that Manchester United are looking for as well. And Guerrero, 21, holding midfielder. Contract up in 2027. United were looking at him 2 years ago. And I feel like this is something where I can look into this and look at this story about us meeting with the agent of Guerrero and go, actually, this actually has more to it. This has a lot more to it than what we actually think, because looking at this player a while back, obviously he is still a decent player. He's still being touted as one of the best in La Liga going forward. Obviously, he's not hit the headlines as other players have over there in Spain, but still, this is the type of player Manchester United need and are looking at. He's a very, very good player. Again, 21. It hits the mark with the Manchester United's recruitment side of things. That's the profile of player Manchester United will be looking at as well. Alongside him, you've obviously got other players that we don't know about, like Fortea at Real Madrid, a 17-year-old right-back whose contract ends in a year's time. He's currently playing in the under-19s for Real Madrid. But you just look at some of them, and I've looked into some of the players that he actually represents. There's a lot more, but these are the ones that stand out, obviously, and a few more people have picked up on this on Twitter recently, and I think it's right that they have, because this is where United's recruitment and transfer window is going. You look at Fortea there, who is 17, Guerrero 21. You're looking at Abede from Betis, he is 23. Lee Kang-in is 24. All that profile of player. And when you've got agents like that, and you're talking to agents like that, and you're getting into the good books, that, to me, shouts out and rings the bell of Manchester United's recruitment team again. And this story would go under the radar simply because Manchester United are playing games. There's a lot going on behind the scenes at the moment, and no one's really paying any attention to it. But I feel like that is something that needs to be talked about, because, again, that is Manchester United forward thinking. That's United looking at players and a representation and talking to him for players that could be the types of player United bringing in the summer. The biggest contract out of all of them there left on all of them players that I've just mentioned is Lee Kang-in from PSG. But he isn't a first-team player. He's a squad rotational player for Enrique. And we know that Enrique will be looking to reinforce his squad in the summer, and he isn't afraid of getting rid of players. United could come in for him. And you know what? For us, that type of player could be gold right now. Going into next season for Ruben Amorim, he's a good player. No, he's not going to get everybody off their seats. He's not that type of player. But you think of the impact that he could have, that energy and that pressing that he could bring, and that intensity in his game, which he has got. That's a Ruben signing right there. And I think United will look closely at that in the summer. Adibe, I can never say his name, but Abde, I think you pretty much say it. It's Ezazuli from Real Betis. Again, under the radar. I don't think we'll sign him, but these are the types of players that Manchester United will be looking at right now. Xavi Guerrero, 100% I think is a player that United would go for. I really do. That is a young midfielder that I think will hit the mark at Manchester United. And I think is a player that United would definitely have scouts in place for, looking at. I think it's vitally important that we are looking at players like that. And just knowing that we have been interested in him before is definitely the way to go forward for Manchester United. And when we're looking at this transfer window coming up right now, you look at the experience of Bruno Fernandes, for instance. You bring in an experienced striker. You've got De Ligt behind him. If you bring in that holding midfielder to play alongside Agate, you're looking at a different ball game altogether. And I think we do need that depth. We do need a ball-carrying midfielder like Guerrero is. And that, I think, is where we can start to get a little bit more excited about what's to come in the future with Manchester United and how this new recruitment team is going to operate. That is just something there that I've cottoned onto and seen that I feel is really important that we actually do talk about, because it is a sign of what United are doing now. Beforehand, you never knew going into a transfer window what United were going to do. It was just hope. It was hit and hope. That's all it was for Manchester United in transfer windows. And right now, it actually does feel like we have got a plan in place. And there is a structure that is going to look at these players, that is going to give them the time of day. And we are going to find players that fit a system that we're actually playing. Because all we've talked about recently and all we've heard said recently is the hierarchy at Manchester United, from the top to the CEO to the coaching and everybody interviewing anyone from Manchester United over the last 2 weeks is we're fully behind Ruben Amorim. He's told us what he wants. He's very clear in what he wants. And that for me is then a recruitment structure on top of that, backing Ruben Amorim and finding the right profile of player. And the fact that we've actually had meetings with this agent right now, with them type of players that he represents, I'm thinking there is something in that. And for me, another massive positive for how Manchester United are moving forward. You can say what you want. Get your comments in below, obviously. Let me know what you think about it. But I do believe that that is Manchester United moving forward and moving in the right direction. Please do make sure that you have hit the subscribe button as well, everybody, as well. Get your comments in and make sure you have given the video a like. Let's get into the live comments on that right now. Let's get into a couple of super chats. First of all, I wanted to make a spot in the live show there for that type of news coming out, because it can get masked over by everything else going on, but people are not picking up on work that's going on behind the scenes, I feel. And I think that's what does need bringing up and talking about a lot as well, because I think some fans are just one-way street in terms of vision, and look, they don't look at the bigger picture, I don't think. And you know, not everybody's supposed to, but I just wanted to make it I just wanted to make a point of it here on the show, because I do think that there is hard work going on behind the scenes with the new people that are in place at United. We can slaughter and slag off the ownership as much as we want, but the people that they've employed are actually good people and are actually good for Manchester United. And I think that meeting alone tells me that there is a plan going forward for United, and it's a football plan. And that is what I want to cling on to the most. Glenn, thank you for the super chat, mates. Even if the only time we see Shaw was in the Europa League final, that would do for me. Then he can wave goodbye with a medal. Oof, that's confident thinking, Glenn. I like that, mate. More of them comments, please, everybody. Let's see where the vote has gone from the start of the show. We've had well over 1,000 votes. Thank you, everybody, on this. How is the mood around the Man United fan base this morning? Your options were buzzing, confident, still not convinced, optimistic. Optimistic is landsliding it at the moment. You're seeing improvement, and that's what I love to bring in my shows. You may come into my shows on my channel thinking that it's going to be similar, it's going to be that negative, we're going to find something that's wrong. No, we'll talk about the wrong stuff, but we'll also make sure that everybody's aware of other positives that are going on at this football club, and that's what I've done all season. Yeah, I got carried away a little bit when Ruben came in, but hey, I'm a United fan, and that's what this channel is. It's for us fans to have our say and give our opinions on a lot of topics going forward. And I will bring up stuff like that on the recruitment side of things. Jeremy Frimpong remains one to watch in the summer. The Dutch fullback could leave Leverkusen in the summer with many clubs interested in him. Yep, I know, Gamer TV. He is definitely on United's list. The only problem we've got is he's contracted until 2028. And I don't think United will be able to compete. I think it'll be another situation like what Chelsea did with Quenda, and us not get him, because we're not in as financially stable position as let's just say, the other teams around us right now. So that, for me, I think is why we're not going to get someone like Frimpong. I think it will be more of the Roger Fernandes type of player coming in. I think that's where we'll actually be, Manchester United, in the summer. And I haven't got a problem with that. I want to see Manchester United looking for these younger players that nobody's talking about. I want to see real recruitment. And even like if Fabrizio Romano is saying 40 million there for Frimpong, I don't think United are in the market. I don't think that is something that we can afford right now when there's other options there. And don't get me wrong, Frimpong, I think he's turned more into a winger. I think we still need an out-and-out specialised wing-back position for Manchester United on that right-hand side. I think we do, because we do need the cover still, I feel. Keep your comments flying in, everybody. Around about 1,500 in the room with us right now, and over 300 likes. You've already smashed the live like mark, everyone. Thank you so much again for all of your comments coming in. Let's get a few more. Tomo in Thailand. Here's one for you. The last time we played Leon at home, it was Ferguson 1000th match as a manager for United. What stato right there. Look at that. Check that out. That's a good one, mate. Bring in Jonathan David, Angel Gomez, Frimpong and Fernandez, Edison and the centre-back. No, we need number 9. As well as Jonathan David. We need another number 9. Boxing says it's important we got the deals in place. We get the deals in place now, so that somewhat Ruben has his players to work with. I agree with that. Get as much deals done and in the pipeline now, negotiated in. And this is, like I said, why I made a big point about that there. Then I will do a separate piece on this and put it out again later on in terms of the recruitment side of things, just so everyone can have their separate comments on it. Because this show has been about quite a lot, but I am going to put this out later on separately as well as another video, so you can get your comments specifically on that as well, everyone. Andrew says, I agree, Adam. I did not know anything about Dorgu and Heaven and what signings they have turned out to be. Good recruitment. Well said, Andrew. You're dead right on that one, mate. I don't want to know who the player is necessarily. Don't get me wrong. If you went out and bought Gyökeres, I'd be over the moon. I'd be brilliant. I'd be awesome, man. Yes. Like players we know, all for it, yes. But I haven't got an issue with someone coming in that we don't know anything about and in turning out to be a world-class player. Well, hopefully in the future. But Aiden Heaven is prime example of proper football recruitment. And that's why I was so gutted for Ruben, for Heaven, for all the Manchester United fans yesterday. When he went off injured, I was devastated because that there was something that has gone so right for Manchester United that no one's going to talk about now because he's injured and maybe out for a few weeks. But that there is a story, a positive story for Manchester United in a season of absolute shit that nobody's going to go and over-egg. But I think it needs to be. Because people want to just slag off everything that's gone on at Manchester United, that's going on behind the scenes, when there is real positive stories still to be talked about. And Aiden Heaven is one of them. £1 million for a player that could be in United's defence for the next decade. Seriously? I mean, wow. That is what you call the future. And that's why I'm confident that we have got a hierarchy now in place and that structure that is going to keep United up there and competing with everybody else, even if we cannot spend the big amounts of money. Stephen says, I like the idea of buying the unknown players, but we must bring in 1 or 2 quality players too. The likes of Cunha from Wolves is a good striker. I don't think Cunha is going to be on... He is on United's radar, but I don't think we'll be able to afford him. But look, here's an opportunity. When you go to Wolves and say 62 million, there you go, give us Cunha, and you get Jonathan David for free. If you can pull that off, you've got 2 quality experienced players that are better than what we've got for 62 million. That's not bad recruitment. That really isn't bad recruitment. That I would be all over. I don't think either player would be substantially, massively overpaid. I think, yes, you could offer the likes of Jonathan David 200 grand a week. I think he warrants it. I think he's a quality striker. When you've got 8 or 9 goals in the Champions League this season, it speaks for itself. He's free. He works his arse off and can play in 10 as well. And he plays out wide sometimes in a drifted out 10 role on the right-hand side for Canada as well. He is a no-brainer for me. Obviously, there'll be competition, but Manchester United's season right now, and how positively we're talking about what's going on, how we could end this season, could start to attract players. And where winning games and being competitive towards the back end of the season may not bring us what we need, which is European football next season. What it will do is show that there is improvements and a togetherness at Manchester United that players might want to buy into and work with under Ruben Amorim. They've seen the shit. They've seen the players that are shipped out. They've seen the egos at Manchester United is dead and the club is changing, and they might want to be part of that and be part of Manchester United coming back again. Honestly, the way I'm talking right now, I know some people, you can cringe all you want, I know, but it sounds like I'm really digging out the positives here this morning. I don't give a shit. I'm going to go with it, and that's how I'll always be. I can always see the best and the worst, and I can judge from what I'm seeing straight away. It's something that I've always looked into and I've tried to be balanced with, and I think that is there for everybody to see at the moment with Man United. You can look at it each way. You can be half full, you can be half empty. I'm looking at the positives right now, and I see Dorgu coming on the left, pushing Dalot back out to the right. Dalot playing better on the right. Garnacho working out on the right-hand side of the 10s as well and being more creative there. Casemiro coming back in and having a role, not needing to use Ugarte that much. Youth players making an appearance in Manchester United's side, uncovering one of the best defences I've seen so far in Euro, Heaven, De Ligt, players like this that have just come into Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes, someone harnessing that energy and finding a role to get 30 goal involvements out of a season of absolute shit from him. There are a ton of positives at Manchester United right now that I'm not going to ignore for the sake of everybody feeling angry and going on this negative train about the poor ownership and everything else. We cannot live our lives as United fans continuously feeling negative about everything and feeling sorry for ourselves. I do, and I get angry and I react. I'm a fan. But I'm not going to try and tell people that it is all doom and gloom when there are obvious positives still there for Manchester United. It is. And I think that we do need to bring it up and talk about it a lot more. And I'm all too willing to do it. And I can see options there. And like I said many a times before, if United are winning games, everything else looks good. How many times have I said it? If United had beaten Crystal Palace off the back of winning a previous game in Europe, if we'd have beaten Fulham in the FA Cup, everything would have looked completely different right now. And this is it. We've just lost games at important stages in this year so far. And we're talking 2025 because when you look at the amount of games that United have had and look at our record, we haven't lost many games. We haven't. We only lost to Fulham on penalties. 90 minutes in extra time, we should have won it. The keeper had a brilliant day, Leno, in that game against Fulham. United should. And actually, when you look at it on paper, it hasn't been a bad calendar year for United, results-wise. There have been some absolute doozies which have really flatlined us. And I'm talking the likes of Brighton and Crystal Palace games like that. And they're the ones that are really going to hurt Manchester United going forward. But look at everything else. Like, it hasn't been that bad when you look at the results. It's just that we have had these meltdown moments where these players have just not been able to grasp what's necessary. But now, for the first time, and you cannot even argue with me and say that it's not, it's still the same. There is a difference in this team. And I've just mentioned it there then. The fact that we're actually getting clean sheets, that we're coming back in games like we did against Everton when it looked doom and gloom. No one expects us to do anything against Arsenal. We've just completely smashed Sociedad off the park. And then we've just walked through Leicester. All while them players that I've just talked about then are starting to find their feet, like Bruno, De Ligt, Euro, Heaven, Dorgu, Dalot, Mazraoui. All of these players, Garnacho getting goals again and playing better on the right. Højlund finally scoring a goal. Let's not forget that. The improvement of Joshua Zirkzee. It's there. It is there. And I think that we do need to actually look at that as well as the negatives, which there are. And it has been a shit season. I'm not going to try and deflect everything away from what is there and everybody can see. It has been a big, big negative this season. But the tiny little positives that are poking their head through and just reminding us that there is maybe a future for Manchester United are what also need to be spoken about. And I think they are going to win the day. Fucking plead God after that big speech and everything. Now I hope United do actually. But I see, you could also say it's easier for me to actually say these things with a 2-week break and not knowing that it's going to come back and bite me on the arse 3 or 4 days later with another poor performance. But still, that's why I talked about this break actually being good for Man United. And still actually, you know what, looking at it, as well as I'd like to play the next game and carry on this little run that we're on, the recovery of these players coming back from injury, wunderbar. There you go. That is what I think is the biggest positive out of everything right now. Ruben Amorim now has 2 weeks for training. Yes, he does, Babs. UK Strains says it's been our worst season in history, and you think we've been bad. Come on, Adam. Let's just say it's been our worst season in history, and you think we've not been bad, Adam. Come on. No, I just said we've been bad. I just said it. But I'm talking about now. I'm talking about what's changed. And that's what I'm going to cling on to. I can see work going on behind the scenes. Nobody can tell me that they are completely devastated and downbeat on the transfers that we made in the summer. Come on. Be honest with yourself right now and tell me that that wasn't a good summer of transfers. It was. The players that we've got have been absolutely brilliant for us so far this season. Yeah, they've contributed to our worst ever season, and I know that that's a counter argument as well. But still, like, individually, they're finding their feet in the midst of carnage at United. Manager changes, coach changes, staff changes, everything. Like, it's been a tough old year. And when this balances out and when it finally settles down, and like what Sir Jim Radcliffe actually said in his interview with Gary Neville, when he said it's all about recruitment now, it's all about bringing in the right players, then that is what you've got to look at and say, right, okay, that is something that is actually working for United right now. But hey, look, that is the end of the show, everybody. Thank you so much. I will drop that other bit of content out in a bit from that recruitment side to give you all your separate comments on that. I think this has been a general overall video of everything so far. So all I want you to do is please give the video a like on the way out. We may even, with nearly 1,500 in the room, get over 400 live likes before it finishes, which would be epic if you could make that happen. Hit that subscribe button as well, everybody. That's up on your screen, especially if you're watching back now. And that is us all finished. Big thank you to the mods and the members, the super chats, and everyone contributing. Your comments were absolutely bang on the money, everybody. Thank you, and I will see you all later on today. Have a fantastic